You're watching Hype Life Films, and we're here at the Anime Revolution 2012 here in Vancouver. This year we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Sailor Moon. I'm sitting here with Vincent Corazza. He was the voice actor for Tuxedo Mask. How are you doing, Vincent?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. So is this your first time here in Vancouver?
No, I've been to Vancouver a few times. I actually lived here for about a month, on and off a couple times for a month, and I've worked here a few times. I've visited Vancouver a couple times, so
nice.
Yeah. I'm a Canadian boy.
You're a Canadian boy,
yeah.
Yes.
I'm an East Coaster, though. I'm a Toronto boy. It was where I was born and raised, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I rooted for the Canucks a couple years ago.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing voiceover acting?
I started, the first that I was introduced to it, I went to Ryerson Theatre School. I went to Ryerson University and studied acting. And in second year, we had a course called Microphone Technique. And I remember the first day walking into it thinking, microphone technique, a whole course on microphone technique? I was thinking for like act as an actor, like either on stage doing musicals or like as an on-camera actor. Right. And then it turned out that it was for voiceovers.
Nice.
And it was taught to us by Roland Parliament, who actually was one of the original directors in The Clover Way.
Oh. Okay.
And he played. I got to be careful here. I might get it wrong because it was so long ago. We're going back almost 15 years now, 16 years. He played one of the characters in the show, and I can't remember which it is. Okay. I was gonna say Melvin, but I think it might not be. But I think but he might have.
Right.
Anyways, it's so long ago. But Roland was my teacher for 2 years at Ryerson, and this is what we did. He would bring in copy. He was a director and an ad writer and a performer himself, and he would bring in copy, and we had like professional booths and stuff, and we'd go in and we'd get and so it was a godsend because it was something I loved to do. I loved to create voices, and as a kid, my favorite cartoon as a kid was Scooby-Doo.
Right.
And so I would imitate all the voices when I would watch it, but I didn't really know that there was a career. I didn't know there was a job doing that kind of stuff. I guess I knew about it, but I didn't know anything about it, how you got into it, and then during my theater training, suddenly there was a course.
Nice.
And it was amazing, and it's led to a 20-year career. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Is that what led you to Sailor Moon, or how did you end up with that role?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. I kind of ended up with the role by, once I had graduated, I signed with an agent. The agent sent me to the audition.
Right.
But ironically, I originally auditioned and booked the role of Alan, Alan Granger in the Doomtree series. Right. And the director of it was Roland Parliament.
Oh,
was my teacher from Ryerson.
Wow.
So which is very cool, and I'm giving a lot of shout outs to Roland right now.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, man. I haven't seen him in many years. I now live in Los Angeles, and I haven't gotten back to Toronto, but I remember bumping into him a few years ago, and he means the world to me in terms of what he did for my career and my life as an actor and as a voice artist. But he also pretty much gave me the role. So not Tuxedo Mask though. Tuxedo Mask came down the road.
Okay. Right. So how was it like to work on like a all-female cast? And
it wasn't an all-female. What do you mean? What do you mean all-female cast?
Well,
what am I? No. No, I loved it actually. I still to this day I feel very proud and honored to have been part of one of the groundbreaking, if not the most groundbreaking animation for female-driven storylines and female characters.
Right.
I don't really know. There was like Wonder Woman in DC, and there was female heroines and female characters, but I don't really recall prior to Sailor Moon an entire series that was based on a group of women.
Right.
And multiple characters, like they brought in, they brought in Saturn, they brought in, the later characters, They brought in Rini, they brought in, and Tuxedo Mask was a backseat driver. Like he was the guy that took us, second place to them. Yeah. And I kind of loved that. I was very impressed, and I love the idea that we were creating a show where the man supported the women, and they were the leaders. You know what I mean? I thought that was very cool. And what I also loved about it too is it didn't really, in my opinion, delineate in terms of placing importance on the women over the men too. I mean, Tuxedo Mask still had importance.
Right.
It was we were working together.
Yeah.
But the series just focused on the women.
Right.
You know, as the heroic characters,
Okay.
and I think that's what really spoke to the fans too, and why it took off.
Yeah.
I mean, why we're here 20 years later.
Exactly.
Here we are today doing this. You know,
I know.
and I mean,
great.
you guys, if you could turn the camera on, you'd see all these people walking around and just lining up. It's amazing. It's pretty incredible.
So earlier today in the panel, you mentioned some sort of technique or technology that you use for voiceover recording.
The process that we use for dubbing. Because like animation is typically done where we voice the character in front of a microphone and then they draw the animation after we voice the character. With the Sailor Moon and a lot of the anime, anything that's been created in a different country with a different language, we dub. So English dubbing. Yeah. But the process for Sailor Moon was a technique called the rhythma band. And basically what it is it's a giant band. It's a giant piece of paper almost, but it looked like a band, but it was stretched across the ceiling. So basically, imagine this is the wall here, and there was a band that would be stretched, and the band would wrap around these two rollers. Yeah. So basically, it was done in a spool. And they would write it out, the entire script.
Wow.
They would write it on this paper.
Just one line.
All in one line, so it all went across, and basically all our words would flow across, and we'd watch it, and then there was a line, and every time our word hit the line, that's when we would speak. So that it would exactly match when the mouth was moving.
Yeah.
And so anytime the line, and even they would write the word out almost phonetically too. So say the word was jump, but it was like I was going jump. Yeah. They would write J-U-U-U-M-M-M-P. And so I would actually, every time the U's would hit, I would go jump.
Nice.
And so it would match exactly the lip flap. It was a fascinating technique. It took a while. All of us, we were all actually talking. We've been hanging out here at the convention and talking and reminiscing about the process, and we were all saying that to this day, I still think it's the most precise way for dubbing. Okay. I mean, it absolutely matches the lip flaps of the mouths that are drawn down to a T. Yeah. You can't get more precise. But to learn to do it, it takes a lot of practice. It's almost like singing a song, and it's very, as Terry was saying at the panel earlier today, it's very physical too. You get really into it because it's all about timing. It's almost like, it felt almost like maybe I'm thinking of this because the Olympics just happened, but it felt almost like it was a little bit of an Olympic event where where everything's about timing and precision, and you know what I mean, and it was very physical. You really had to get into it, and you had to, and you had to teach yourself how to read, but also with your peripheral vision, you were almost reading ahead. Yeah. So you're trying to match the line exactly, but you're also trying to peripherally see if a word was suddenly being stretched out so you could prepare. Yeah. So you could get ready to go, okay, I got to yell, I got to get a breath, I got to, get. It was very involved, but once you got into the habit of doing it, and you got the technique down, and you got the rhythm, that's why they call it rhythma band, because it's very rhythmic. Yeah. It's very much like singing, and once you got it, the most precise thing that there was. It was amazing. Yeah.
Do they still use that today?
I hear that it's still in existence, but it's a company. Nicole, who was our director, I believe she worked for the company that owns the process, and I believe it was out of Montreal or out of Quebec somewhere. So my understanding is it's still in existence. Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people use it because it's a very labor-intensive process where you have to write everything out, and I mean nowadays mostly when we dub, we do stuff where they show the picture, and you hear you'll hear beeps, like you hear beep, 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 and then you just go. Right. And so you have to, but that's more about you have to watch the scene a couple times and get the feel for it. Right. And to me, that's not as precise because you could be slightly off, or and now with modern technology, they can move, they can slide the audio. Exactly. But the rhythm band is incredibly precise. I think it's still used. Some people use it, but it's very labor intensive, and my understanding is it can be somewhat expensive to do. Okay.
So just to finish off here, with Anime Revolution, this is the first time it's being held here.
Inaugural.
Yeah. would you recommend this event to any of your friends or any other?
I would highly recommend it to anyone in Canada, especially Western Canada. I actually just met a fan who was from Edmonton, drove all the way in.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you guys put on a fantastic convention. First of all, the setting, the Vancouver Convention Center is gorgeous.
Yeah.
The time of year is fantastic. Vancouver is great this time of year. It's it's great always. Vancouver's beautiful, but this is a great time of year. I think it's really well organized, and I mean, granted, it's the first year, so there's things like that like some of the panels and stuff where I think next year, we had a couple panels going on at the same time, and so that was like hard to hear sometimes.
Exactly.
But I think everything went incredibly well. It was very successful. I think the fans loved it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.